if I can start, and do it alphabetically by council and then through the names, just for ease for my purposes. William Sinclair. You're online, but your mic is not on.
Yeah, William Sinclair from Cowell Ward in Argyll and Bute.
Thank you. William Lennox.
Yeah.
Thank you. Alan Moyer.
Yeah.
Thank you. David McDonald.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ken Andrew.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Stephen Dunn.
Yeah.
Thank you. Christy Mearns. Thank you. Malcolm Mitchell.
Yeah.
Thank you. Rosa Seal. Yeah. Thank you. David Wilson.
Yeah.
Donald Reid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Joanne Katie Kelty.
Here.
Thank you. Michael McPake.
Yeah.
Adam Smith.
Here.
Jim Patterson. Duncan Townsend.
Present.
Alex Allison.
Here.
Maureen Chalmers.
Here.
Thank you. Maureen Devlin.
Yeah.
Thank you. Craig Edward.
Yeah.
Gregory Beecroft.
Yeah.
Thank you. Jenna Dixon.
Here.
Anne Follen. Yeah. George Hazel.
Here.
Liam Johnson.
Here.
Ed McCracken.
Here online.
Thank you. And I have apologies this morning from appointed member Andrew Walters. Thank you very much for your patience as we do that process. If we can move straight away through to these declarations of interest then. Does anyone have a declaration of interest they wish to make you aware of?
Chair, just as George Hazel here, just to say that I'm still advising North Ayrshire Council on the Sustainable Mobility project for Arran and Cumbria.
Thanks very much, George. Thank you. Okay, moving swiftly on then to the appointment of chair. Could I please have nominations for chair?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Stephen Dornan.
So that is Councillor Malcolm Mitchell.
I would like to second that.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other nominations? No. Thank you very much. In which case, Councillor Stephen Dornan is appointed as chair of SPT. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to do this?
Okay, can I first of all thank members for voting in this morning, and I'm very much an inclusive person in relation to the issues we have. I think the business and what we do out with this room as well. Everybody will be involved in decision making. Just be a better company. So thank you for that. We've got a trying time ahead of us, but a really exciting time in relation to SPT. Thank you.
Thank you. I have to move to
The next
the
business
agenda.
is
So the next, we traditionally have two vice chairs of SPT. Could I have nominations, please, for the role of SPT vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Alan Moyer.
I have a second.
I'll second that. Craig Edward.
Thank you.
Could I nominate David Wilson, please? That was Alec Allison from South Lanarkshire.
And can I have that seconded? I'll second it. So this is for vice chair one. So we have two nominations for vice chair one. Alan Moyer and then David Wilson, in which case we will have to go to a vote.
Sorry, Chair, I mistook what was happening there. I thought it was for both the
We have to do
places at this point.
Yeah, one at a time, I'm afraid. So is that withdrawn then, Councillor Alison?
Yeah, I'll withdraw it and put him in as the sec for the second one. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. So any other nominations for Vice Chair 1? No. In which case, Alan Moore, Councillor Alan Moore is Vice Chair of SPT. Congratulations. Moving on to Vice Chair 2.
Get it.
Nominations for Vice Chair.
Get it right this time. Can I nominate David Wilson?
Councillor David Wilson, nominated, seconded by Councillor Maureen. Thank you. Any other nominations?
Final nomination. Thank you, Chair. Is there a requirement in standing orders for a gender balance to be at least attempted to be defined within the 3 rules?
There is not in standing orders. There will be in terms of representation on the committees themselves as best as we can, but it's not in standing orders.
Okay.
Any other nominations? In which case, Councillor Wilson is appointed as Vice Chair.
I think your vote in the runoff against Alan would have been interesting.
And good Glasgow style, there was nearly a sushi there.
No man's an island.
Thank you. Moving on through the agenda then, agenda item 5 is the minute of the meeting held on the 18th of March. Our members who were present at that meeting are happy that it's an accurate record.
Yes.
Thank you. So I'm happy to agree with it. Thank you. And in terms of any matters outstanding or matters arising, we'll take the page by page in the first instance. So we'll use the big page numbers just for ease. Page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, and 7. No matters arising. Anything. Can I ask Neil Welly to take us through agenda item 6?
Sure, thanks, Ali. This is the formal notification of contracts that have been awarded during the pre-election period under the process which was agreed by the partnership on the 18th of March. So 20 in total, one for Microsoft Light, which is the first one you can see, which is just about ensuring business continuity, and 19 in terms of local bus service contracts, which you can see laid out there, covering a variety of areas, and again, ensuring continuity of service in terms of those bus services. So the contracts were approved by Valley and Consultation itself in accordance with the agreed delegation. So we'll just ask the committee to note these awards. Happy to take any questions to our end, Chair.
Ready to go?
Yeah, thank you. Agenda item 7 is a standing orders relating to partnership. The note covering the report outlines that this committee is being updated in terms of our current standing order. We always, as you would expect us to do in the other councils, it's called practice, to review our standing orders at the start of every cycle. We've made 1 or 2 proposed changes to the standing orders where we've identified the deficient 1 or 2 areas, including no reference to our chair of audit standards in the standing orders. To update the fact that we now use email as an electronic means of communication, to reflect the fact that the meetings are now recorded. Standing order 9 determines that actually the standing orders proposed lie adjourned without any discussion today until the next meeting. So I invite members, once you've had time to peruse them, to, if you have comments or questions, to drop me a note, and I will consider them and then report back to the immediate meeting after this with the final version of the proposed standing order. Are you happy to agree with that?
Great.
Thank you. Agenda item 8 is the committee structure and cycle of meetings. And again, we always review how we operate. We have 2 standing committees, an operations committee and a strategy and programs committee. And then we have 2 further committees, an audit standards, which is our scrutiny committee, and a personnel committee, which deals with our workforce matters. Obviously, we also have a personnel subcommittee as well, which frankly doesn't sit very often. You will all have received a request to intimate your preference of which committee you sit on. I can't guarantee it because we will ensure that there is both political and gender balance and geographic balance across all of the committees. So I'm asking members today to note the committees and if we can decide who carries on and to note the dates of the future meetings. I'm happy to take any questions.
Ali, you've managed to avoid the Glasgow September holiday weekend, but we always seem to hit the Ayrshire holiday weekend, that is the weekend earlier. Could I therefore ask on behalf of the Ayrshire members and also the ones that don't share the Glasgow holiday weekend, that we move the 16th of September to 1 week earlier to avoid the public holiday in Ayrshire that day?
Okay, I'll have a look at that to see how it works. The cycle all works in a cycle. If I move one, I move them all. So I'll have a look at that. That's fine.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say that I hadn't noticed an email about those committees, so I'm very interested to engage in that process or to volunteer for a certain process. There's a process that can be done outside with this.
That's fine. I'll pick it up with you.
Who's the requirement?
We try to have all members on a standing committee and either an ops or a personnel, ops and personnel and audit or ops and strategy programs and audit or personnel, just as a means of managing the whole committee cycle. So two is the perfect preference, but happy to engage with you outside to ensure.
Can I just ask, to the appointed members, will we just stay on the committees we've always been on?
Not necessarily.
No, right, okay.
So all members will be asked to complete that.
Change is as good as it is. The change is as good as it is.
Absolutely.
Be happy to agree with that. Thank you. Moving on to SPT's remuneration, and I'm conscious that many of you have gone through the open committees over authorities recently and much of that is the same thing. But for SPT, there is a slight difference when it comes to remuneration. We remunerate based on some historical powers, and that's simply because the powers that the councils are using did not by later include SPT, but we have a old historic house that we use for this purpose. Traditionally, the partnership has agreed that the chair of SPT remuneration is 75% of the council, the largest council, which is Glasgow. Vice chair is 75% of that. And we are and have had discussions about whether the chair of audit standards should also be the payment, recognising that the senior responsibility as opposed to that payment is 75% of the vice chair. All one. So we're asking members to note that and to agree that that system of remuneration carries on throughout the next cycle. Thank you. Neil?
Thanks, Marlon. Corporate governance framework. So that's basically built on items 7 and 8, which are standing to the next partnership in terms of the governance manual and SPT. Altogether, structure and direction support the principles that are listed there in the first paragraph, section 2 in the background. As we do at least once a cycle, we've reviewed and updated the documents, and there's particular reference to the elements which are in section 3 of the proposals, and that's aligning the approval thresholds across all documents, removing any reference to the European thresholds, and aligning to the scheme and delegations. The other factor in that, as we do when we review these documents, is we have looked at what a practical line. So what does it mean to users, within the organisation, just how practically it applies. So I'd ask that the committee, there's a lot in these documents, there's a lot of governance documents, but if we could note the corporate governance arrangements and also approve the changes to standing orders, and also just slight work and tweak to the 4B action, which is to approve the papers as attached, which are all three, which is the standing orders, the financial regulations, and the scheme delegation. Again, happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
I thought they all said we were approving standing orders, but I thought you said that was adjourned for the next meeting.
There is a difference between standing orders relating to contracts and
right.
partnerships.
Right, okay, sorry.
Chair, could I just ask you what are the changes substantive? Is it possible to have a summary of what they are?
Absolutely, can circulate a summary of the changes across the docket, but no, they're not substantive. So, in financial regs, they're very limited. There are some changes in terms of accounting regulation, essentially, and in relation to contracts removal, anything that relates to European definition. The actual conditions or the regulations haven't actually changed themselves, but the references have changed. And then there's just a standardisation to ensure that all the thresholds, particularly in relation to the regulated levels we have of £50,000 is reflected through the documentation. So it's a 10-year.
Further questions?
Thank you. Agenda item 11 is SPT's representation with outside bodies. You will see attached to the report a list of outside bodies that we traditionally and historically are involved in. I propose that we will come back to the next meeting with nominations to new bodies, and should any member have a particular interest in any of those that we would like to move, and then we will go together in nominations for the next meeting. The only body that's not on this list, and will be separate to at the next partnership meeting, relates to Nevis Technologies, which is a joint venture company of which SPT is 49% shareholder in. Technology that runs the back end of smart parking, and we the separate paper on Nevis Technologies because it has member representation. Thank you. And finally, agenda item 12 is to update members and all partnership members on their plans for induction and training relevant to the work, to role and responsibilities of the partnership. Now, I'm very conscious that we have some members who've been with us for some time, but it's always a good idea to refresh all of our knowledge and bring ourselves up to date with the environment in which we're working on. There will be a members' handbook issued next week, which will give you some basic housekeeping about SPT, where we have our meetings and what we actually have initially about. And that will be supported by a number of training and induction events. The first one, which we're proposing, will be held on the 17th of June for those who can make it, and that will be in the morning. There will be audit and committee training for those who will be allocated on the audit committees, the audit standards committee. And we always engage in what's called on-board training, which is the role and responsibilities of all members on a public board. SPT falls between local authority and public body, and therefore we engage in what's called the on-board training and use an external supplier to do that. In addition to that, we will arrange visits to the subway and to the bus stations so that you can see the operational environment that we're operating in. And we will also be planning carbon literacy and quality training as well. Members are also invited to suggest training that they would find useful to fulfil their role, and if any member could like them, that would be very helpful. Anything specific that they would find helpful in supporting them on this board and also in their roles in this one. So it was really to make members aware that we'll be a full induction programme, and there will be a full induction before each committee, which will start in April, as to the role and the functions of those committees. So recommended to support that, and also the drive to provide training to all members to fulfil their roles. I'm happy to take any questions or to answer anything in relation to any specific induction or requests that you may have.
Any questions?
Just when is the training going to take place?
The training?
Yeah.
The first training induction will be the 17th of June. For those members who can't make it, and I'm very conscious of all the very busy diaries at the moment, we'll do a follow-up as well. So if you can't make the 17th of June, we'll encourage you to do that. I am conscious that everybody's diary, particularly for members, it will be very busy.
The training that's possible to be done via MS Teams as well.
We can do. We can.
That's any help.
Yeah.
The flexibility for that one.
Free dining.
We tend to do it in, so members are aware, you're not frightened off from us. We tend to do it in manageable bite-sized chunks because sitting through a whole day is quite hard work. So we tend to do maybe a 2-hour session. So we're 10 to 12 the first day to get an initial induction. And then we do various other chunks as we move forward. And it's worked quite successfully that way in the past. So I look forward to speaking to you all, and you will see many more people from SPT in that one.
Okay, no further questions?
Sorry, thanks, Chair, and congratulations for you. Just Valerie mentioned, Chief Executive mentioned that Officer Luke might make himself available to give councillors, members like members that are back in. I just think that we're sitting around the table, well, other officers are around the table, and the same officers repeat themselves consistently. It might be worthwhile just doing a round robin with the officers who are present just now. I think that was for officers and members, so if that's okay. Sure.
So, start with you.
Oh, sorry, sorry, I'm the new
Please stand up.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Director of Finance and Corporate Support, I've been in SPT for quite some time. My remit's quite wide, so the obvious things being finance, procurement, digital. I've also got ticketing, I've got the contact centre which principally manages my bus bookings and also national entitlement card arrangements. To an extent, that's actually quite a complicated thing to work through in itself. I've also got, and I always forget, so I'm going to offend different ones in my teams each time I do this, I always forget one. I've also got operation like bus stations, and I feel as well. Bus stations, facilities, and HR. Sorry,
Just really, yes.
So there's quite a wide remit there. There's the kind of things that you would expect in the job title, but also got operational responsibility for bus stations, which is very good for me because it gives me a different perspective, and I like to find that perspective support that might be to give the operational departments.
My name is Smith, Director of Subway, so I look after the operations of Subway and also the modernisation. The operations, as you can imagine, has been a bit difficult the last 2.5 years, but we're getting there. Still struggling a little bit in terms of staff at the minute, as you know. We are having some issues around stations, etc., but we're doing our very best to be sure the system continues to run well with the pandemic, which we're very proud of. In terms of modernisation, you'll hear from us, I think, in 4 weeks' time around how that's going. Key thing for me at the minute is we are testing trains in the system at night, which is incredibly exciting and also very, very keep safety at the forefront because we do work in the opposite tunnel at the same time as we run the train in another tunnel. So it's a real kind of challenge for us there as well. We're really exciting times. I've been here about 3 years. It feels like 3 years. I can assure you. I look forward to working with you all across the next, I think it's 5 years, Valerie, is that correct? Yeah. So happy to pick up a bit of detail with any direction of that.
See, in 3 years, feels like 20 years. It's 3 years.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gordon Dixon. I'm head of strategy and delivery at SPT. My role in remit covers 3 principal areas. Our network team, which looks after our supporting bus services, and also our MyBus services. School transport, we move around 40,000 school kids every day. Working in partnership with our local authorities, and also the term bus development, which covers infrastructure, planning, policy, pretty much anything with bus before and after it. So welcome to all the new members and all the returning members, and we very much look forward to working over the course of the next 5 years. Good morning, everybody. My name is Kyle, I'm the head of policy and planning at the SPT. Been in the organisation for 23 years. It feels like me. I've been in a variety of roles, mainly in the policy planning project type sections, and so I head up policy and planning, responsible for the regional transport strategy. Back to that, project development, analysis, appraisal, anything to do with planning, development management. And various other things besides, including a lot of stakeholder engagement, which is a key thing for us as an organisation. Coming to the partnership in June is the draft of the new regional transport strategy. A lot of work over the last few years put into that, so I really look forward to telling you all about that. It's a really ambitious strategy, something that will hopefully set the tone for the many challenges as we know that are facing us over the next few years. So that's the broad range of what I cover. So.
Andrew?
Andrea Thompson, Media and Public Affairs Manager. So it's a bit of a mixed bag sometimes working for SPT in that remit. So if you're going to get us into trouble, please let me know in advance. I appreciate it. For about the first 5 years, I used to say I knew nothing, but apparently now I'm one of the old guard. So yeah, I've been here for 7 years. Still learning curve every day. But welcome, and anything you need to have questions, please don't hesitate to ask.
I must have been very bad in the previous life because I've been the longest sentence in service. I'll be 25 years this year. I'm a solicitor and look after SPT's legal issues, whether that's property, whether it's contractual, whether it's claims. We also look after data protection and freedom of information. Part of the team, we also have a surveyor who's responsible for all of the more practical aspects of our property ownership and rental. Welcome to you all.
Thank you very much.
Can I just add one thing general? Just when you see the committee reports, which will have through all cycles, you'll see name at the bottom of the paper with a telephone number. Can I just encourage people if there are any questions to dial that number and ask the questions? It's really good for us, before we go into committee to actually have that engagement. And SPT can be quite complex. There are some real nuances around about what we do and what we don't do. And it helps everybody if we can develop that relationship. And the names and the numbers are there for a reason, so please dial.
Okay, so I thought it was worthwhile just maybe the officers obviously gave a very brief overview of what they do, and so anybody walk away thinking that's just because there's a hell of a lot. Us who have been on the SPT for a while, obviously have got the benefit of that information as such. So I think that's very important, very useful. And the other thing, Chair, is we obviously have appointed members is very much making a contribution to the SPT's work. So I don't think I've seen Greg put his hand up, but obviously there's quite a lot of board members, appointed members on the call, but we're also going through the intros. I'm sure a lot of councillors have done a here with each other over the last few bits. We don't need necessarily do the intros, I don't think.
Yeah, you want to come in?
I guess indeed. I mean, actually, Neil has said part of what I was going to say is that you'll find that particularly the partnership meetings, they tend to be very much sort of approving reports and you're churning through quite a big agenda. But the staff are really good at engaging with people, and Neil says bring them up, send them an email if you've got a question about something. And the other thing that's been really good in the previous session was the informal meetings, particularly the ones regarding the regional transport strategy that Bruce convened. So there's a lot of good discussion and debate goes on outside the what I call the formal meetings. And yeah, I very much hope that continues. And as appointed members, for those who are not familiar with having appointed members, we are appointed, we have to go through a selection process, which you, the councillors, choose us. And yeah, our role is to help you in the role. I mean, I've got a railway background, other people have other particular skills that they bring to the partnership.
And that's how long have you been under the partnership?
Since 2016.
Yeah, I've been on since 2012, I think. I'm a devil for punishment. I'm still here. I think my term actually ends in December, I think, doesn't it? Yes. I mean, I would just echo everything that Greg has said. I think, some of the other meetings, particularly on the regional transport strategy, when there's really a chance to have a good sort of talk to it and exchange ideas, has been very, very useful. From the general training, I would definitely recommend the on-board training. I think that's excellent. As Valerie said, it's an external person that comes in to do it. It's very, very, it applies to all sorts of, when you're in public life, it applies to all sorts of roles that you have, not just your one with SPT. And it is very good indeed. My background is in aviation planning. I'm a town planner by profession initially, but I've spent most of my life in aviation planning. And I can say I've really enjoyed the time I've been with SPT, and you learn a lot. And I think, if you engage with the officials, you'll get a lot out of it as well.
Thanks for that. It's good to get that insight. Anybody else want to?
We have a number of appointed members on screen. We have George, Graham and Ed. George, do you want to say a few words?
Yeah, thanks, Valerie. I might get this wrong, but I think it's 2019 I came on. Yeah, my name's George Hazel. I'm originally a civil engineer, but I've been in transport planning all my career, really, both in the private sector and local government. In the 90s, I was director of transportation for Lothian region and then director of city development for Edinburgh. But now I've got my own consultancy. I just advise various people, as you heard earlier. The areas that I work in is future mobility as a service, making cities work, sustainable development, and and funding transit, local, public transport, supporting public transport. Really enjoyed being on the committee and the two subcommittees that I'm on. It's a really exciting time, I have to say, because there is so much potential in this region, and for SPT in particular. It's a very important time, and the new regional transport strategy that's been talked about, and also the discussion paper that the previous chair and the two continuing vice chairs published a few months ago is a very important document. So you come on at a really good time. It'll be my privilege to help whenever I can.
Thanks very much. Ed?
Yeah, here I am, just getting off mute. Ed McGracken's the name. I'm by profession chartered engineer, very much in the telecommunications, digital side of the world. I joined about the same time as George there. Yeah, I'm trying to think when it was. I think it might have been early 2020, George. It wasn't 19. Well, anyway, we're as a group of appointed members, I think we have an opportunity to do a bit more in terms of challenge. We've got no political affiliations. We've got no sort of concerns about constituents and such like. So I think we do have a good opportunity to take, I wouldn't say take issue, but to question and indeed support issues as we go forward. Now we are a much smaller group. Obviously, I think there's 7 or 8 of us, the appointed people. So we're certainly not here to make policy and change policy and such like, but really to question and support. And I certainly have enjoyed doing that. My other areas I've worked in currently, I'm on the board of the Glasgow Regional Colleges, so I've sort of got a background in governance and such like. So that's generally my background in areas.
Thanks very much, Ed. Graham?
Aye, thank you, Valerie. Graham Johnston. I kind of fill a kind of a strange kind of dual function. In my day job, I'm head of management services for NHS Lanarkshire. So in many respects, I provide that link with the kind of wider health community. I'm actively involved in planning of services because I'm primarily employed within the planning department of our health board. And through that, I engage pretty regularly with SPT on a range of kind of operational matters, for want of a better word. I'll say this now because I normally say it quite regularly, but SPT were remarkably helpful during the pandemic in terms of providing access to healthcare for key workers, and that's something that can't be overstated, just the impact that did have. I would like to think that my part, let's say, making sure that project rolled out very, very successfully. Really, just to pick up also on Ed's point, I think the key part of the appointed member role is that delivery of governance and just the ability to be objective, ask possibly difficult questions. And in all fairness, what you will find is that the papers that have been prepared by the officers are actually of a very high standard, very well thought through, very well researched. Expecting to see more of that. I've been with SPT since 2014. I was going to say enjoyed every minute, but I've enjoyed most of those minutes. Thanks.
Thanks very much. And finally, we also have Jenna. Jenna, are you still with us?
I certainly am. I'm Jenna Dixon. I currently work for Network Rail. I'm a project manager for Works Delivery Track, and also I've been serving as an appointed member for over a year now within SPT. It's been a great journey so far. It's been really interesting, and I'm excited to see what happens with the new members who have joined us now. And depending on what meetings that we end up in, whether it's the same as we've been in or an opportunity to look at something new. So I do have quite a big transport background, and I have previously actually worked in the tunnels at SPT, and one of my previous roles. So over the time, I've moved about from working on behalf of the government to working in the supply chain as well.
Thanks very much. Thank you, members.
Okay, thanks very much everyone for attending this morning. I look forward to it. Sorry, Councillor Mills.
Sorry, I was hoping to go there. Just very one quick question, if it's appropriate to ask at this point. Just to say that I'm really looking forward to learning, from you all, and the wealth of experience and skills that you have is it's really exciting and inspiring to be around that. And I just wanted to ask, what is the process by which members, appointed members, are appointed? I know that in the standing orders it does say that other members will be appointed by the partnership, subject to the consent of Scottish ministers. But what is that process? How is it initiated?
The process by law, we need between 7 and 9 appointed members. That's the statutory number, and it ranges between that depending on members joining and leaving, what have you. We actually use the public appointment process. So the last time we actually used the public appointment website, so that's the formal process. We have been, in fact, we can't use that again because of various reasons, but we use the public appointment process, so it's an entirely open, engaging process where it's an open advert, there's a skills matrix, there's a job description effectively, or role description, full advert, shortlisting, then through interview, etc., and through that process. So it's a full public appointment process that we employ, which is quite a big process, quite a long process, but very effective.
And I think it might be worth adding that you have to go through this process even if you're an existing appointed member, so you have to apply all over again, just like new crowd or have to get elected all over again. I think we can confirm, it's quite an exacting process.
Yes, we spent quite a lot of time in you.
There is one exception to that, in that we have a representative of health, and in fact it's Graham, who is our current representative in the health sector. We don't have to go through that process for health. We can identify, because it's so niche, it's so critical to our role, that we can actually identify somebody within that sector to approach them to be on the road. And that's the one exception that we have.
Sorry, and this process happens every year?
No, it actually happens as and when we have a number of vacancies. So at the moment we have 7 elected appointed members. I need 7, so as soon as one, and I'm looking ahead to look at when terms of office are due to stop or finish, and we'll start planning for that process again. So if I'll need to check the dates, but if you're the end of the year, I'll need to start.
Yeah, I think around the end of December. Yeah, double check. I think it's the end of December.
And this is advertised.
Advertised, yeah.
Yeah, I get the legal and community permanent rather than a throwaway phrase. It's very important that what we do is for the public, so we should listen to them to make sure that along the way we're getting it right. And that's when they mark out homework